So welcome everyone. Thank you for being with us today. This is the English-speaking edition of our Best of .next that the Nutanix Partner Support Center is organizing in Inye. So today we are your hosts, Peter Grant and myself, Cyril Gonac, to deliver you the latest on what was announced during our great .next user conference 2 weeks ago. Before we start, I would like to tell you that if you want to ask questions, you can ask questions in the Q&A little section of the webinar. I think you are now familiar with this kind of tools, Q&A, or you can also put comments or questions in the chat box, but it's better if you put them in the Q&A. And we will try to answer your questions during the webinar, and we will review them at the end of the webinar also. So let's now kick off the session. I will start by welcoming all of you. So maybe we can go to the next slide, Peter. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for being with us. We are now used to this kind of webinars in the last 18 months because, as you all know, the COVID has really changed our personal life and our professional life as we know it. Many of us have had people impacted by this pandemic, and we have a lot of things which have changed in our social, cultural, and business norms. And technology has helped us to stay connected. Technology as we use it today. So we can go to the next slide, Pete. And also some other things have changed in the last 18 months when we realign into our key focus of the discussion today. CIOs all over the world have clearly recalibrated their choice of where they intend to locate their workloads. A couple of years ago, there was a big hype about the public cloud. Everybody, or not everybody, but many companies were thinking about putting everything in the cloud, that is to say in the public cloud. But as you can see, survey after survey, month after month, quarter after quarter, lots of things have evolved. And now it's clear that there is a good recalibration between either the public cloud or the private cloud on-premise. And as we see in this latest survey from Flexera about the enterprise cloud strategy, more than 80% of companies are thinking about hybrid cloud as their preferred multi-cloud deployment. So it's not only public cloud, it's not only private cloud. The choice, the solution, the things companies are really thinking about today is really hybrid cloud. And it's good because Nutanix strategy is clearly about hybrid cloud. Our vision, we have made our vision evolve in the latest years. Our vision today is to make cloud invisible, freeing customers to focus on their business outcomes. So wherever the place, the location where their workload is working, we intend to make this invisible for our joint customers. So before we go into the announcement of on products and technology with Peter, I will take a couple of minutes to remind everyone on our latest refresh of our partner program, Elevate. So Elevate that we launched a little more than 1 year ago is still a program based on your competencies, mainly on your competencies, offering great awards and allowing our partners to execute faster, to be profitable, and to be really differentiated from the competition. So this program, I'm going to tell you more about the latest. After 1 year of great execution and welcome and feedback about this program by our partners, we have decided to insert an additional layer in the steps of our channel program. When we launched it 1 year ago, there were only 3 layers: authorized, professional, and champion. And this year we have introduced another layer, which is a basic layer, which is enrolled. So now partners, depending on their where they stand on our requirements, can be either positioned at the enrolled level, which is clearly the level where you don't want to be as a partner, the enrolled level, or authorized, or professional, or champion. But there are 4 layers now in the program. And we have extended the benefits we had last year only for professional and champion resellers. for the authorized level. So now our authorized reseller have additional benefits that they didn't have last year. They are now eligible to our new customer acquisition rebate for the first deal that they close with an end user. So I remind you, this is one of our most important rebates we have for the channel. The NCAR, or new customer acquisition rebate, entitles every authorized professional or champion reseller to have a backend rebate when they sell, when they bring us a new opportunity for a new customer, a customer who never bought from us. And as you can see, the percentage varies according to your level. And it's now also available for authorized resellers, which was not the case before. Something we have changed also in the program, a new customer is considered as such during a period of 9 months now. Before it was only 6 months. So not only do you get a backend rebate when you do the first, you get the first order from a prospect, from a new customer, but you also get compensated with this backend rebate for a duration of 9 months if you do upsell or cross-sell after the first initial PO. So you can get backend rebates for a duration of 9 months. It's much better than the previous 6 months. So this is our most popular rebate in our channel program. I remind you that to benefit from this new customer acquisition rebate, of course, it needs to be a new customer, a company that never bought anything from Nutanix for the duration of 9 months. And secondly, you need to bring us the opportunity. So it needs to be what we call inside Nutanix a CID, a channel initiated deal. For you, what does it mean? You simply you must make sure that you register the deal with us. You must send us a deal registration. And as soon as we approve this deal registration coming from you, this opportunity is considered a channel-initiated deal, and you are eligible for the new customer acquisition rebate if you are professional, champion, or authorized, not if you are enrolled. Partners who are enrolled are not eligible to the new customer acquisition rebate. So how to be a professional reseller, champion reseller, or authorized reseller? Of course, there are some certification or capabilities requirements. So that translates into a number of certifications that you need to have. We have some sales certifications for the sellers. We have some pre-sales certifications, same as the program last year. The news this year in our new program is that we have updated our Nutanix certified sales representative certification, so the NCSR. There is now a new training and a new exam that you need to get before the end of January 2022 in order to be positioned in the right category, either professional reseller, authorized reseller in this order, or champion reseller. There's also, so this is quite classical. There's also a new requirement that we have added this year for the second year of our Elevate program, which is a minimum revenue of $75,000 US of TCV. So anything which is software and services sold by Nutanix, not the hardware as usual. You must, as a company, have closed at least $75K of TCV, Nutanix TCV in the last 12 months in order to be in one of these three categories: authorized, professional, or champion. If you don't have the necessary certifications, or the necessary revenue on a period of 12 months, then you fall into the enrolled category. You are still able to position and sell Nutanix, but you are not eligible anymore to the Nutanix backend rebate, for example. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So when will we review the status, the level of each of our resellers? It's same as the previous year. We will review this every quarter. At the end of every quarter, so I remind you, our first quarter is from August to October. So at the end of October, in 2 weeks, we will review the requirements for each of our resellers all over the world, and we will make an update if they are professional reseller or authorized reseller or champion reseller. Okay, we will do promotions every quarter. So we are able to make promotions to a higher stage every quarter, and we will do demotions, so going down from one stage to a lower stage after the first half, so after Q2 in January, and at the end of the fiscal year, so every 6 months. Okay, so be sure to get your certifications in time as usual before the end of the quarter if you want to progress. And there is a very important milestone not to forget, which is the end of January, where you should have had your new NCSR 2022 sales certifications and your 75,000 of annual TCV in order to be positioned in one of the three interesting stage of our program: authorized, professional, or champion. I think that's all for this program. So we will provide you the slides, and you will see on this slide the changes between the first year of our Elevate program and the new version, the refresh of this program this year. So we have added the authorized reseller level. There is a new reseller level which is not eligible to our benefits, which is enrolled, as I told you. Demotions can happen after Q2 and after Q4. The new business acquisition rebate has been extended to authorized reseller, and you can see the percentage for the initial deal or the subsequent deal in our new fiscal year, which is on the right. And that's the most important stuff. We also have the new NCSR 2022 certification that needs to be gotten for every level of our partners before January 2022. Also, the minimum review of 75K TCV is important. You will get all this information in the slide when we will send them to you. And I spoke a lot. Now we start the interesting part of the session, which are the summary of the announcement, technology and solutions announcements we had during .next. And my colleague Peter is going to go to present you this information. Remember, you can ask questions either in the Q&A session or in the chat box if you have questions on the content, and we'll be happy to answer at the end of this webinar.
Great. Thank you, Cyril. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. There's a few familiar names on the call. So over the next maybe 30, 35 minutes or so, we're going to go through and look at some of the key announcements for .next. We're going to cover off innovations around HCI, database services, and cloud innovations. Now, there was a lot of content. There's a lot of stuff we can go deep on. The purpose of this session now is just to really give you the kind of key bullet points. And then at the end, we'll show you a link where you can actually sign up for the .next replay session. So if there's anything that tickles your fancy, then you can go deeper. And of course, we can also liaise with you guys to do some deep dive sessions as well. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the things that we've delivered with the latest release of AOS 6.0. So AOS 6.0 includes support for a full infrastructure as a service stack. So we've got enhanced capabilities across virtual networking, AHV, disaster recovery, and we're also focused on security. And we've made it easy for organizations to implement a zero trust security model across all their IT operations. And finally, we continue to invest in the core storage stack for enhancing performance and efficiency, particularly for database and big data type workloads. So we've had a really great year for AHV. There's been a whole bunch of new features and a great new partnership. And we're seeing significant user adoption with more and more customers choosing AHV as the hypervisor of choice for their data center. So let's talk about some of the new features. If we start with multi-tenant private clouds, this gives you connectivity supporting overlay networks. So all your workloads can run on-prem, on the cloud without having to re-architect the network, and also supports multi-tenancy. We also have automatic DR failover with AHV Metro clustering. So when we've got mission critical applications that need near zero or zero downtime and 100% availability, we now have that with synchronous replication that we've had for a little while now, but we've added Metro availability. So with Metro availability, this takes synchronous replication a step further to provide that automated failover. So you get automatic data replication across your clusters. You get a VM recovery runbook. You get an uptime witness, and we'll also display the RPO that you're going to achieve. So sometimes you might have variations in your RPO due to maybe network congestion or high rates of change. We're actually going to report that to you within the dashboard. Next is memory overcommit. Now, this has been a long ask for many of our customers for quite some time. And with memory overcommit, we give you the ability for AHV to dynamically manage memory and give you greater VM density for your data centers. So you can configure VMs with as much virtual memory as they need, even when it exceeds the physical RAM. And this is great for certain types of workloads, test and dev, lab workloads, and also other workloads where you know that at any point in time, you're not really using a lot of resource, but you need to have that flexibility to burst. And finally, we're happy to announce that Red Hat and AHV have partnered together to bring you the OpenShift container platform for Kubernetes and containerization as a preferred platform on Nutanix with AHV. And it also includes AHV becoming a certified hypervisor for Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Now, we have a lot of customers, thousands of customers running Red Hat already on AHV, and it was actually supported before under Red Hat's third-party hypervisor support policy. The big change now is it's officially certified, which just removes some of that friction. Okay, so let's take a closer look at the virtual networking with Flow. So we recently GA'd our virtual private cloud, or VPCs, and this gives you a multi-tenant overlay, which is completely built in to Nutanix. So it gives you self-service, cloud scale networking for the infrastructure, and it can eliminate the long delays that sometimes occur whilst your virtual networking team are liaising with your physical networking team. There's a whole bunch of great features built in, subnets, netting, floating IPs, and many, many more. And Flow, of course, also provides network isolation and security in the form of microsegmentation, which gives you the first line of defense against network intrusion attacks and other types of bad actors. So together, this gives you a really complete networking solution for cloud scale, easy to use networking for all your applications, but it's built into the platform. So I would say one of the big differentiators with Nutanix Flow and the virtual networking element compared to the many other solutions out there is the simplicity of the management and the operations. Okay, so let's talk about business continuity and disaster recovery. So we've got a couple of great features to announce, including a DR observability dashboard. So this gives you full visibility into a whole bunch of things from your SLAs, your topologies, your configurations, how your RPOs are being maintained, so that you can get all the information you need in a single dashboard. We also provide, slightly off the DR topic, but we also provide metrics now for when we're doing rebuild. So you can actually see an estimate of how long it's going to take whenever we need to rebuild from a failed drive or a failed node. Now, we've had built-in DR encryption for many years now. As you probably know, we've got data at rest encryption using either built-in software or the choice of a hardware solution using self-encrypting drives. And we've also offered native key management. What we're now offering, and what we announced, is data in transit encryption. So all of your data from origin over the wire to destination will be encrypted without the need to purchase any third-party hardware solutions. So this is going to give you full control of your DR ecosystem, from your visibility, your configuration, the control, even all the way up until encryption over the wire. So one of the reasons customers prefer AHV is that they get to manage more of the infrastructure stack from within the simplicity of Prism. And we continue to enhance Prism. And one of the areas that we focused on this year is around governance. So our projects and quota capability allows IT to allocate resources to the users by retaining control over capacity limits and role-based access control. This now applies across all of Prism. So in Calm, we're adding support for approval chains, so customers can implement an ITSM-like workflow for well-governed self-service experience. And Calm also now supports a scheduler, so customers can create jobs either as one-time or reoccurring that they can use to execute run books, blueprints, or application actions. Other areas that we focused on is a more expansive ecosystem reach with support for more platforms and automation tooling. So as you probably know, with Prism Pro and Prism Ultimate, we support the management of Nutanix clusters, but we've now extended that to support the monitoring of the VMware virtualization stack for VMware systems running outside of Nutanix. So if you have a non-Nutanix VMware stack, you can now monitor that with Prism Ultimate. And we've also added integration support for the likes of Ansible, Terraform, PowerShell, so customers can now reuse their existing automation tooling in the in the Nutanix infrastructure without having to refactor it. Okay, so let's talk about security. So the vision of Nutanix is to make security invisible. We like to say that, and what we mean is we want to make it simple and frictionless. So the most effective approach starts having a platform where security is built in. And we announced that we've been certified for the US Department of Defense's approved product list. And we also strengthened the gates to the platform by enhancing the identity access controls. We enhanced key management, and we're delivering a security dashboard in Prism, giving you a bird's eye view into the security posture of your entire infrastructure. And we didn't just stop there. We're also adding native controls to protect your workloads and your data. And finally, we're making it easy to integrate our platform into your security ecosystem for defense in depth. So let's take a closer look through a typical ransomware attack scenario. So nearly all attacks start with exploits of vulnerabilities. And the solution is, to patch everything, just patch, patch, patch. The problem is there's so many systems out there, and trying to keep them patched all the time is an ongoing struggle. So to simplify this, we're going to be integrating the Nutanix Cloud Platform with the Qualys Vulnerability Management Solution to help you streamline and prioritize your patching. Secondly, if an attacker does gain access, then they typically move around the organization laterally. And to stop this, you can use flow microsegmentation. The problem is, with microsegmentation, how do you determine what traffic is good and should be allowed versus what traffic is bad and should be stopped? And if you look at any network, there's so many traffic flows going between different applications. It actually makes it extremely difficult to know what rules you should apply. So you're either going to apply too many rules and then you're going to break things, or you're probably not going to apply enough rules and then you're going to have security holes. So what we've done is we've enhanced our flow microsegmentation offering by using machine learning and observing virtual machine traffic. And what we can do is we can automatically learn and then recommend what those protection policies should be. And this, takes away a massive problem with microsegmentation. And lastly, it's all about the data. So we're strengthening our protection for Nutanix files by adding the ability to detect and block up to 4,000 ransomware signatures. And we can do this uniquely because we operate so close to the data layer. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. So with digital transformation accelerating, there's, you've heard it before, there's more data being generated everywhere in the cloud, on the edge, in the data centers. Our vision is to deliver a rich set of data services for all the workloads, no matter where they are, and no matter what type of data. So some of the things we announced was a new data sharding architecture. So this can give you a 2 times performance increase. We also announced our offering of Intel Optane and NVMe drives, and we're enhancing our software to optimally place that data close to the application. So as I'm sure most of you know, we have data locality, and we've taken that a step further in recent months by having metadata locality. And this is really important when you're talking about drives that have hundreds of thousands of IOPS per disk with microsecond latency. Like, what's the point of having these amazing, super fast, low latency drives if you have to go over the network to read a lot of the data? So this is where the Nutanix architecture really comes into its own to make the most of this, these new age type disks. And we've also taken a huge leap with our platforms by refreshing portfolio-wide with Intel's Ice Lake processor and AMD's Milan processor. Obviously, this is going to result in higher core density, higher memory density, and faster performance. And when it comes to data services, we're committed to freedom of choice. So whether you're running AHV or VMware or containerized applications on Nutanix, you're going to benefit from all these core storage performance benefits. So let's take a look at big data applications and what we've done there. Now, the challenge with big data is not just the volume and the velocity, but it's also the variety of data. And what we've done is we've introduced 2 major enhancements that make it vastly simpler for our customers to run analytics workloads on Nutanix. The first thing is introducing replication factor 1. So typically in a Nutanix cluster, you will run it either with RF2 or RF3. So we will have 1 copy on one node and then 1 or 2 copies on different nodes within the cluster to provide the resilience. The problem when you're running Hadoop or Cloudera type workloads is that these applications actually do that themselves. So rather than doubling up, we're now supporting RF1 for these types of workloads. And this can result in up to 3 times improved performance for very large data sets, all while reducing the storage cost and the capacity requirements. So with RF1, you can exploit Cloudera, SAS, and other analytics type applications that manage their own resiliency. Now, for customers running modern cloud native workloads, they can use Nutanix Objects, which is our S3 compatible object store. Nutanix Objects delivers high performance, petabyte scale object storage that can power your data lake. So you can run Apache Spark, Presto, or other types of analytics engines. And we've added 2 powerful new capabilities to the object storage. The first is called S3 Select. Now, S3 Select can dramatically accelerate query performance, especially around structured data stored inside the object store. Second, we've added an S3 adapter called an optimized object copy. And this results in faster batch processing time and faster indexing. And it also enables Hadoop to be able to read and write directly to Nutanix objects. So at Nutanix, we're hugely focused on unified storage now. And if you saw the latest Gartner Magic Quadrant for unified storage, Nutanix was mentioned for the very first time as a visionary, which is quite an achievement considering how long we've had files and objects, which has only been a few years. So we added 2 major advancements to the solution. First, we've added support for intelligent tiering to help you manage data growth and reduce the long-term retention costs. So with support for cloud tiering, you can transparently move files or objects to the public or private cloud storage, including Nutanix Objects, Amazon S3, and even Azure Blob, all while maintaining a single unified namespace. Second, we've also strengthened the native data protection within Nutanix files. So we've added Smart DR, which is essentially share level DR with a 1-minute RPO. And we're enhancing the recovery with near zero RPO, along with self-service restore capability. So the users can, restore their files like we're used to doing with Dropbox and OneDrive, but they can do that from their internal corporate file server without any administrative intervention. And this is pretty cool. So we also announced Nutanix Data Lens. So Data Lens is a new data governance service that's designed to empower you to be able to manage your data growth, as well as protect your data against security risk, and also provide global visibility into the unstructured data on Nutanix. So it provides deep insights into your data age, your data type, your usage, your behavioral and access patterns, and more. And with these insights, you can perform cradle to grave data lifecycle management. You can protect against threats, including ransomware and suspicious activity, and you can streamline your audits and compliance for your data. Now, at launch, Data Lens is going to support Nutanix files, and then in the future, we'll be also supporting Nutanix objects. Okay, so we're extending our leadership in the database services with some new capabilities in Nutanix Era. So this includes seamless migration of databases onto the Nutanix platform, with no need for complex reconfigurations to be done first. So it makes it really easy for customers to take their existing databases, move them to a modern hybrid multi-cloud platform without having to refactor or reconfigure the storage layout. And we've also added support for one-click storage scaling with zero downtime. And this can sometimes take customers days, if not weeks, to plan and execute. This is something that can now be done with a single click with no downtime. We've also enhanced, made some enhancements around security and resilience with support for enhanced role-based access control, sharing of secure sharing of databases, database management operations. And with resilience, we're also adding support for multi-site Era deployment. So customers can now seamlessly fail over their databases between sites for a truly highly available database services solution. Now, last but certainly not least, let's now talk about what we've done around the cloud innovations. So the vision at Nutanix is to make clouds invisible. This is probably the primary vision that we have now that is really driving the engineering teams. And by that, we mean making cloud complexity invisible. So we do this using our Nutanix cloud platform, which encompasses hybrid cloud infrastructure, cloud management, built-in data services like unified storage, database services, and desktop services. So, why is this such a big deal for us? And, why have we got so much focus on driving this hybrid multi-cloud vision? Well, it truly goes back to what we're seeing in the market. And as an example, this data is from Gartner that shows that 75% of customers and so many companies are looking to move to a hybrid and or multi-cloud model. And out of companies already using public cloud, more than 80% are actually using two or more public cloud vendors. But what's also interesting here is that the vast majority of applications are set to stay on premises now and also in the foreseeable future. So this is really what's driving and how we think about cloud innovation, and how we're looking to deal with the complexity. We want to reduce the complexity, give a solution that allows you to have a consistent cloud operating model for all the applications, whether they're private, public, hybrid, on the edge, or wherever they are. So hybrid cloud. A year ago, we launched clusters on AWS, and this was our first foray into this set of solutions. So what is Nutanix Clusters? So clusters, in a nutshell, is the Nutanix software stack, excuse me, delivered on the public cloud, running AOS, AHV, the Prism management plane, but running on public cloud bare metal hardware. So what makes it special is the fact that it provides the common infrastructure, the common management plane between public and private cloud. And you might think that, well, if I'm going to run on the public cloud and then have to, purchase AOS licenses, isn't that going to be more expensive? And actually, it's not necessarily. There's obviously a sweet spot like most things. But the way I think about this, if you go back, 20 years or 15 years into the world of, people running physical servers, we then introduced virtualization, where you had to purchase the virtualization layer, but overall it was less expensive, because rather than having 100 physical boxes you had to pay for, you could now buy the virtualization layer, buy a few big servers, but overall, because you're consolidating, it was cheaper. And it's actually very similar when you think about what we're doing with Nutanix clusters. If you look at AWS and you're paying for 100 AWS servers, even if they're just running 10% CPU usage, you're still paying for 100 servers based on their uptime. If you kind of almost virtualize them, if you like, into Nutanix clusters running on AWS, running on a smaller number of big AWS physical servers, then it actually is reducing that 100 virtual machine cost and consolidating them. So not only does it give you this single management plane, but it can also be more cost effective. So we've been doing this for a few quarters now, and we've seen customers adopt the solution. So what type of benefits and use cases are we typically seeing out there? So these 3 use cases that are emerging as the most popular. The first one is disaster recovery. So this is where organizations are looking to leverage the public cloud for DR rather than owning and maintaining a secondary data center for DR themselves. The second is, around on-demand elasticity, where organizations are looking to consume infrastructure on demand for bursty use cases such as test dev and seasonal workloads. And the third one is around customers wanting to go to the public cloud, but they want to migrate without having to refactor all their applications before they do it. So they can start their modernization journey, if you like, by migrating to the public cloud without code refactoring. And then piece by piece, at their own pace, they can go ahead and transition those applications to cloud native applications. And these recent studies by IDC and ESG show that you can deploy a hybrid cloud with Nutanix clusters in less than an hour. You get 76% faster time to value, and you get an over 50% better TCO over a 5-year period compared to other alternatives. So what we've done with Nutanix clusters on AWS is we've expanded the availability of clusters. We've added new support for new AWS regions, and we've also expanded the instances that we support within those regions. We've also done a bunch of stuff in the US with AWS Government Cloud and FedRAMP authorization for the US federal customers. We've also added support for a cool feature called Elastic DR, and this really improves the total cost of ownership for running DR in the public cloud. So rather than mirroring your primary data center as is to the public cloud, the idea here is that you have a small pilot-light Nutanix clusters set up in AWS with just enough to hold, the critical data that you need, your domain controllers, and just the bare minimum. And then what you can do is if you have a DR event, you can dynamically expand that DR cluster in the public cloud to host the amount of workloads that you need to fail over. So obviously the benefit of that is that you're not paying for a full DR site and all the public cloud costs that go with it until you actually have to fail over. Conversely, when the primary site is back up and running, you can fail back and then reduce the cluster size in AWS. And this can all, by the way, this can all be, automated with playbooks and runbooks. Okay, we've also improved a feature called Hibernate and Resume. So again, this is for bursty use cases, and this is where you have a burst of activity followed by a period of inactivity. So the idea here is that you spin up a cluster in AWS, but rather than spinning it down, let's say you use it for some time, and when you're done, rather than spinning it down, you just hibernate the cluster. And what this does is it takes all the VM data, the configuration data, the state data, and it puts it into Amazon S3, and then it spins down or stops the bare metal AWS servers. So of course, that means you don't have to pay for them anymore. You just pay for your S3 storage. The big advantage of this is that if and when you need to spin up that cluster again for bursty workloads, it's much quicker to just resume from Hibernate and carry on than rebuilding it from scratch, even if you automate it. And what we've done there, we've increased the speed with AOS 6.0 to resume from Hibernate by a factor of 3. So it's 3 times faster now to resume from Hibernate than it was prior to AOS 6.0. So I think this is a great example of what we're doing with our built-in capabilities around disaster recovery, runbooks, and leveraging the elasticity of public cloud. And just to kind of get your head around this is really important. When we're bursting into the public cloud and reducing, from a management point of view, in AWS, all you're seeing is another Nutanix cluster running in Prism. So you don't have to learn AWS. You don't have to understand, AWS instant types or refactor networking or applications. It's just another bursty elastic site that you can spin up or spin down on demand. Okay, so that's what we've been doing with AWS, but we've also been working with Microsoft for probably more than a few months, and we're really excited to bring Nutanix clusters now for Microsoft Azure. So what we announced at .next is that we're in preview now, and we're going to start with 2 US regions, and then soon after add other regions for worldwide coverage. So at GA, clusters is going to be available through the Azure Marketplace. So this is something we've been working very closely with the team at Microsoft on. So we're looking to engage our early adopters and then get them on board, test the experience, and then roll out globally. So customers, once this is GA, customers will be able to either create net new workloads or migrate existing workloads into Nutanix clusters running on Azure bare metal. And what you'll be able to do, because this is, again, just presented as another Nutanix cluster within Prism, it just happens to be running on Azure hardware versus AWS hardware, you get the benefit and the capability of moving the workloads just like you would from one cluster to another, in a true multi-cloud way without having to refactor anything. So, if you're a global organization and you find that in certain regions you've got Azure, other regions you've got local AWS, or maybe there's a cost differential and you want to move workloads from one to the other, it's super simple to do it now with Nutanix clusters. And, we've also been working on building out the ecosystem of cloud native partners that can run directly on top of the cloud platform. So if we just quickly double click on a couple of them, we touched on before, Red Hat, this is a huge announcement for us. And it's a very strategic partnership. So we see OpenShift and Red Hat see OpenShift as the preferred enterprise containerized solution to run on Nutanix. And likewise, Red Hat see Nutanix with AHV as their preferred HCI platform to run OpenShift. So what it means for customers that they now have a fully certified solution, fully supported AHV to run both Enterprise Linux and OpenShift directly on AHV. So you'll get joint support, you'll get all the performance, scale, simplicity benefits of the Nutanix platform, and also all the benefits of the Nutanix data services that will power the OpenShift applications. But we're going further than this. We're also working to make it easy to deploy these environments within a Nutanix cluster, as you can see here. So Prism is being enhanced to present a Prism marketplace of applications. So if you look at the screenshot here, you can see you can deploy our own services, but you can also access built-in partner services like OpenShift, which you can see here in the top row as the preferred partner for that particular application. So to deploy one of these, you simply click on the tile, you configure a few parameters, you hit launch, and that will spin up an OpenShift cluster onto Nutanix. And you can do the same thing with a whole bunch of services and applications. You can get Nutanix objects deployed. You can do the same thing with Era. And all in all, we're just making it really super simple, very consumer-esque, if you like, to deploy apps or services onto our platform. Okay, just a couple more slides to go. So one of the things in our cloud portfolio, one of the things we've been focusing on is giving value, not just through an on-prem solution, but also by providing SaaS services. And that's one of the recent innovations has been around releasing Calm via a purely SaaS model. So with Calm released as a SaaS model, it no longer needs to be deployed on-prem. You can deploy it you can utilize it purely as a software as a service model. And Beam has always been a SaaS platform, but we've recently added support for GCP. And just overall, we're continuing on a journey of creating a cloud payment capability that's truly hybrid and software as a service. So just to summarize and recap, we've done a whole bunch of advancements across the entire platform to help enterprises build modern hybrid multi-cloud deployments. Specifically, we announced with AOS 6.0 features like Flow Virtual Networking, enhanced DR, security with over-the-wire encryption, and all this functionality is managed through a single interface, which really summarizes what we're trying to do. We did a bunch of enhancements around just core storage performance, giving 2 and 3 times performance increases for certain types of workloads. And if you think that you're going to get these performance benefits for these mission critical workloads just by doing a one-click upgrade, that's pretty good value for money. Our database service around Nutanix Era is delivering one-click storage scaling, and we demonstrated the expanded support. We talked about the expanded support for AWS. We talked around Elastic DR, improved Hibernate and Resume. So you can see the engineering team have been super busy. I remember when I started with Nutanix 5 years ago, it was all around HCI, and we're barely even talking around HCI anymore. It's obviously a core part of our platform, but hopefully you get a flavor for what the vision is of Nutanix moving forward. It's making the cloud infrastructure stack super simple. Okay, so that concludes my part of the presentation. If you want to go more, then we still have the .next session replays. So if you Google Nutanix .next 2021, if you're not registered, I believe you can still register and watch the replays. That'll go into a lot more detail on any of the topics that you're interested in. If you're not familiar with Nutanix Test Drive, this is a solution that we've spent quite a bit of time creating that allows you to get some hands-on And of course, if you wanted to join one of our boot camps or other enablement events, then you're more than welcome. So thanks for bearing with me. Sorry for my network dropout. I think we recovered and we're at the top of the hour. So what I'll do is, we'll just look at Eddie.
Oh, we have a couple of questions which are for you, Pete. I'm going to read the first question from Stuart. Hi, in the lead up to .next, there was some indication that there may be some changes around the XyLeap, but I didn't see any such announcement. Is there any plan to change XyLeap in the near future?
Yeah, so we've not announced any changes with XyLeap, and I'm not aware that we're defocusing on it, but we think there's definitely some benefits in using clusters on AWS. There's some pros and cons. I think the advantage of clusters, particularly when you look at the ability to have a pilot-light environment, is it gives you a bit more granular control than perhaps what you may or may not have with XyLeap. But long story short, no, we've not announced any changes with XyLeap. We were just focusing on some of the additional features with AWS.
Okay, so thank you, Stuart. Very good question on XyLeap, which is still around. And another question, excellent question too. So, do functions like ElasticDR, etc., also work on any external public or private cloud? That means not only AWS.
Yeah.
It would be an interesting solution for MSPs. We partner with a lot of MSPs at Nutanix. Interesting solution for MSPs that have their own cloud resources built on Nutanix. Same for clusters, etc.
So yeah, great question. And so with ElasticDR, this capability is created via the XPlay runbooks primarily, with a little bit of scripting depending on what you want to do. So it's not necessarily like a kind of a button and Prism for ElasticDR. It's really more of a demonstration of just some of the sorts of capabilities you can have now with the playbooks. So if you're an MSP and you have a Nutanix cluster running, as part of your environment, then absolutely you could take the same approach. You would need to create a playbook. There would be some integration with scripts that you can manage with the playbooks. But yeah, as long as it's a Nutanix cluster, then you can do ElasticDR and 101 other things. Yeah.
Excellent news. So what we provide for the hyperscalers is also available for our MSP community.
Absolutely, and I know some service providers that they do a similar thing, and they have done this for a while. They have automation where if clusters get to a certain level, then they just automatically add another node from their kind of hardware pool, if you like. So that's being done today.
That can be a great additional service that an MSP can offer, providing a disaster recovery solution into their environment for Nutanix customers on premise. That can be a great service for an MSP.
I think just to add to that, the AWS clusters and Azure clusters shortly can also complement that, because if you're an MSP, you've got a fixed amount of hardware. So if you need to burst and you want to burst and utilize some additional hardware within your environment, that's fine. But what if you have customers you're supporting and they need to burst and you don't have any hardware? You could still have a Nutanix cluster bursting into AWS. So it allows you to almost provide almost unlimited capability. I know the public cloud is not unlimited, but you can almost present unlimited capability to your clusters without having to go out and buy more hardware than what you need.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. Thank you, dear partners. I had just a comment in the question. Indeed, sounds great to use that functionality. Looking forward to find out more. Okay, thank you very much, Peter. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this short summary of our announcement at .next, and we will send the video and the slides later. Thank you for being here. Have a great continuation with Nutanix, and be safe, my friends. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.